Alright, I got my little helper with me. Now, seeing as how we weren't able to fill these puppies full of vegetables for the chickens and the pigs all winter, we did contact a all-organic regenerative farm that grows organic grains, non-fertilizer, and so we got none of that. What is it called? Oh boy, glyphosate, as they would say. When you use fertilizer, you get a chemical in the food called glyphosate, and it is absolutely very unhealthy for you. So we don't believe in that garbage. So I have been supplementing the pigs on top of feeding them hay, just for fiber and to fill their bellies, and the odd food scrap here and there. We've been giving them, I think it's peas, barley, wheat, and just some trace minerals and whatnot. And same with the chickens. The pig stuff is ground up. The chickens, theirs is, well, lots of whole grains, and then and there's lots of minerals and trace mineral and stuff like that for them, selenium and all the other good stuff. So we are gonna go. I usually put a little bit of water. Oh, this is what. Oh yeah, there's sunflower seeds too, black sunflower seeds. But they're all whole grains, and they're all organic, and they're harvested off of a regenerative farm, regenerative feeding. So they just use the cattle to go and crap all over the field, and harrow it out, crop rotations, and yeah. And we're doing the same here on our farm, so all our hay and everything we grow is non-fertilizer. It's all natural. So this is what we're doing right now. You give it a little bit of, in the winter, because we don't have, well, I did pull power down. As you can see, here's the little cable. We had it coming out of the garage. I had a contractor come in this winter, so I still have to trench it. As of now, the line is just kind of laying on the ground, and we have power down in that red barn there now. So this spring or spring, summer, when I get to it, I will trench the power line over to that far barn. I will trench power from the junction box from that, because there's a junction box in that red barn. So I'll put power over to that green shed there, and then we can have some water heaters in there. We can have power and water in there. And I'm going to set up, I already have, it's just an automatic water feeder for the cattle, but we're going to put a new separation pen here so that I can work the cattle between these two pens, and then the other pens in the front of the barn. Just a little bit easier for separating, especially when you got baby calves and big cows and horses and donkeys. When you're trying to run them through the squeeze and through the chute, it's like a stampede in there. So just a little bit safer. You can separate mums and separate babies and get them all into, kind of work them through the pens and wean them down, and then you can use, then it's not such a cluster in the pen. So right now we're just gonna go out. I'm gonna give this a stir, let it soak for a bit. Anyways, about the water, I just add like a lot of extra water to their feed, so it's really soupy. It comes out in like porridge, and then there'll be a bunch of extra water. But that's how they've been getting, the pigs have been getting their water all winter. I haven't fed them at all. I haven't put a water pan out there at all. I just, every day I put water in the pail, extra water, and they'll lick that up. It's like broth to them. So, and then the chickens get that, and then I'll fill the chickens. They have a heated water bowl because it was really close to my power source down at the red barn. So I fill up a little pail for them, and I fill their little heated water dish up. And then after we feed all these animals, I am going to pull the harrow sets up to the front of the garage, drop them on the fabrication pad there. I'm gonna go find a pipe and get my chains, because we're gonna have to cut some chains to length and weld them to the long pipe, and we're gonna kind of make a big bridle that's gonna hold all the harrow sets together in a row. I think I'm gonna do 2 rows of four harrows. So and then I can drag it behind old Red over there in the garden and get some of the hay and the feeding spots and a bunch of the manure spread out over my hay fields, because I had let the cows into the hay field after everything went dormant and froze up, and then I rolled out a bunch of bales that kind of weren't the best bales. They got a little matured too long, so I rolled them out onto the pasture, and we're going to harrow them out and get that seed to spread out, and hopefully we get a good crop of hay this year. And then we will eventually we're going to send the cows over to a pasture that wasn't grazed last fall, so the grass grew up real high. And we're going to get them off this main pasture, and then we'll start working this pasture up. All these little spots that we've been feeding, we'll harrow out, and we'll get the grass to really grow up in here before, excuse me, before we bring them back over. Because, yeah, this many cows, I mean, I think this pasture is 37 acres, so they will chew this thing down to nothing before it even grows up. So, I mean, if I don't have to put them in a pen and feed them hay, and I can get them over to a different pasture, that's a lot better. They'll have a lot of grass I mean, it's a little browner, but they'll have a lot of grass to chew up over there while this is growing out. So that's the plans, because originally I was just gonna pen them all up and keep feeding hay while I worked all this field up. But yeah, but it's supposed to be warm this week. It's supposed to be getting into 6 degrees Celsius out here, so things are going to start thawing and melting, and it's a good time to bust up these rock hard pieces of poop and start spreading stuff. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, so we'll do what we can. Other than that, I'll get that old girl plugged in. It's got a Wabasso on it, so it'll circulate. Alright, I'm going to jump into the coop here and see how mamas are doing. These are wood chips. You know what? This is probably, I don't know, I kind of figured it out on my own because of just when we hunt. All the bush chickens seem to love pine needles, so we made some wood chips and whatnot, and with some pine trees, and these chickens have been picking at these pine needles all winter, and they haven't stopped laying eggs. I mean, they're full of nutrients. The pine needles on the ground here is great. Like, you come in this coop, it don't smell at all. The poop breaks down and it mixes in with all these wood chips, and I really find it beneficial. I mean, I come in here, I just keep covering up the poop throughout the winter. Throw more. They eat the pine needles, which is good for them, and their poop breaks the wood chips down. In the spring, we come in here and we shovel all this stuff out as we need it for the garden. So it's kind of a win-win, and then we get fertilizer. So I'm just gonna throw out this food. Here's some of the ladies. There's a tunnel over there that goes into the one roosting into the egg-laying barn, and then there's a tunnel over in that corner. So there's kind of chickens that are all over the place right now. But yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Now, you do have to clean this pen. I usually just pull in here with the bobcat back into the barn, push it all out, right to where that cow's standing into a big pile. And then once I get it all cleaned out, I'll scrape a nice flat path all the way to that very far back pile you can see, just so my bobcat, it's not bouncing all over the place. So I'll make a nice flat runway, and then we'll bring more straw in here and lay it down. Typically, I like to get in here with a pitchfork as the winter goes and flick all this turd out. However, I've suffered with quite a few ailments and back problems this winter, so I'm kind of trying to take it easy on the old body, and I've gotten lazy, so I just use the bobcat and I come in here. So, but the other day I did lay because this stuff's so hard, so I laid a bale out here, and it looks like this darn near needs to be cleaned up too. So an old head buddy McGee, she's bagged up a bit. She's probably gonna be my first cow to calve out this spring. Probably within, maybe 3 weeks. I'm thinking her udder's starting to let down a bit, and I can just tell it's swelling out a bit. So she's gonna go, and then I'm gonna keep watching. Just keep watching. As they get close, I can move them around the backside of here, and there's a chute where Nash is standing down there, and I can run them through into this far pen. However, I gotta run all those calves and everyone through the squeeze and put on some tags that fell off over the winter. They like to stick their head through the fence and catch their ears on the boards, and sometimes their tags fall out, so I'll put some tags in the old existing holes, and then take a good look at them, make sure they're all good, and send them out into the big field. And then I can start moving mums into this pen over here, because I like to keep a close eye on them, or else I'm sitting out in the field all night when they really swell out. Then you gotta be careful, because anything can happen. They might need to get a calf pulled, or if it's cold night, you want to get those cows dried off quick if they drop them in the middle of the night, especially at this time of year. You never know. Typically, we put our bull out at a certain time, so we got a rough idea of when they're gonna calve. So the snow should be gone, but it still gets down cool at night. And in March, you never know, you can have some freak snowstorms. Even in April, we can get snow. We do get snow, so you just watch them and do what's right for them. And as you can hear, these pigs are going ballistic over here. They got their nice green hay. They eat this stuff up like probably not even hungry, but they like their porridge. I give them a little bit just because, well, she's pregnant, and it's winter time. We don't have we're getting low on vegetables and stuff. Fermented stuff, cabbage. We give them a lot of cabbage. It's got lots of vitamin C in it and all the good stuff. But in the winter time, it's cold out. They want to try and keep warm, so we'll do this non-GMO, no glyphosate, and they get their porridge. I don't give them a whole lot, but it's good enough this time. Should. There. Here, piggies. There's your porridge. There's got lots of green hay. Lots of water. Sorry, girl. Oh, it's so hard to hold this phone and do this at the same time. It's okay. Now, we typically like to give them about 6 pounds of feed a day, but they just free feeding in the winter because it is so cold out. I just give them what they need. Like I said, Mama here, she's got a litter of piggies inside of her, so we want her to be nice and healthy and have lots of food, lots of energy, and lots of the goods to grow the babies out. But this, like I say, is just some peas and stuff, and barley, wheat, and trace minerals, and all organically grown off of a regenerative farm, so there's no glyphosates. Again, I like to press that fact because I don't want to be eating food with a bunch of trash in it. And we're going to check the water after. It looks like I like these girls to clean up all this food. I mean, this hay is like really, it's very good quality hay, so which they don't, like you can see, like they don't leave much left on the ground, so they'll clean up these little spots. They'll clean up wherever they don't poop. They poop and they pee on it. They tend to not eat it. They'll eat around it, but yeah, I'll force them to eat it so they can take care of that. I won't throw bales out this morning. I'll throw them out this evening. Now I'm gonna go pick some eggs. Typically, there's not a whole lot of eggs at this time of morning. But hey, Nash, easy on the chicken, please. Thank you, young man. Hey, girl, how you doing? You got something under there? Oh, we got a little one. Usually I only get a couple at this time. Oh, she's going out for a little gander, I guess. Come on, you. Come on, you. Go back in there. It's warmer inside. There's not much to pick on out here anyways right now. But they still like to... They poke their head out and they're like, whoa, there's snow still. Yeah, not happening. I'm going back in. And believe it or not, these coops, they get nice and warm during... We got a little skylight on that one to let some light in. I'm trying to give them as much light as possible so they actually produce eggs. Because that vitamin D is... Sunlight is a huge part to play in their egg laying. And usually don't get any eggs out of here in the morning either, but yeah, you know, always like to check. She's brooding. I always pull her off because we're not going to have her hatch any eggs out at this time of year. Oh, look at that. There's 2 eggs in there. And I just fire her out the door because she's got to go and eat. Go, girl. Go, my little leopard. Get moving. Go and eat. I don't want you in here. She sits here all day and she doesn't eat and she starves herself out. So I don't, usually when they're brooding, they don't eat very much. It's cold. I like them to eat. I should bring the food to her, but everybody else would fly in here like crazy birds. So just a couple eggs this morning. I usually just grab them early like this because it is like minus 13 out right now Celsius, so they will freeze if you leave them too long if there's no bird on them. So I just grab them quickly on down here, and we don't have any frozen eggs. And then when we come back in a couple hours, there will be bucket loads of them. And I like to think this wood chip, these pine needles, they've just, those needles are so packed with nutrients. And you know what? People wonder if, they probably make the egg taste funny. No, they don't make the egg taste funny at all. The egg just gets a lot of good nutrients. Maybe the bird, if you ate the bird, it might taste funny. I know during hunting season, you get a rough grouse as compared to a spruce hen, And yeah, you can definitely tell the different flavor in the meat. It's a lot stronger because them spruce hens, all they eat is spruce needles. So, you know, they get a little clover and berries, but you usually bust their crop open and they're just full of needles. So yeah, it makes the meat taste a little stronger. But the eggs, as far as the eggs go, I have not noticed a difference at all in the eggs. The only difference I've noticed is the color of the yolk can be a little bit nice and orange and really dark, and they love them. You're giving them nice good green needles all winter, so it's a good idea if you want good healthy eggs. And as you can see, we're slowly whittling away at this hay. I had it covered. This stuff is really good quality hay. It's got lots of clover in it, and smooth brome, timothy, some fescues. It's got a little bit of bluegrass in there and some random wild flowers and whatever else. As far as the fields go, I am gonna put in a crop of alfalfa this year. And so what I did was I just scratched the top layer of half of my back hayfield just so I can set the seeds, and then I'll probably just broadcast seed it this spring. But I had let cows on there first, so I hayed. I used my hay bine. I cut the hay, and then I cut it high. So I let all the cows out on that field before I scratched the surface, so that I got a little bit of fertilizer into there. And I left a couple rows of hay on the ground and kind of spread it out so that it'll rot into the ground too, because we don't use fertilizer around here. So you'll want to give a little back to the ground. So what I'll do is I'll take the chisel plow out in the field, or not the chisel plow, I'll take the vibrishank. I'll go over it because it's got a harrow set on the back, and I'll just drop it maybe 2 inches. Just scrape the surface just to kind of agitate the little bit of clumps in the sod and break them down a bit, and then I'll harrow it and broadcast seed at the same time. So I'll probably have someone on the back of the old girl here and just broadcast seed, and I'll just drive up and down the field. We'll put a couple bins of seed on the back and just fire alfalfa out onto the field. It's either that or we're gonna do green feed first. We'll do some organic oats from Manawan Farms. They make a good product, and we'll just broadcast oats out there, and we'll grow oats for the first season, and we'll bale it up as green feed, and then next spring I'll throw alfalfa down, and we'll have a good strong half of my hayfield to be strong alfalfa, and then we'll just do nice tame hay on the other half, and then up here will be just tame hay as well. And we'll just keep letting cows on it in the fall, and I'll cut high and let them chew, and as they go around and chew, they poop, and then we'll harrow it out, and just regenerative feeding. And then, you know, in the winter you can roll bales out onto the fields and let them eat too, and it drops all the seed pods off the hay. I mean, sometimes you get some grass that's a little more mature and they actually develop a viable seed, so it goes on the ground and it keeps your hay nice and strong. So that's kind of the plan, but we're slowly whittling down here. We got some straw left, and we got some rounds, and then I got some real nice squares here. I like to give that to the pregnant mamas because they need their nutrients for their babies, and they need the good selenium and whatnot to combat white muscle disease, so they don't lose calves in the spring. And then, as you can see, I still have a real nice stack of bales here, and that's all smooth brome. and a little bit of alfalfa in there. It's just tame hay as well, so. And it's good and green. There's no mold, there's no yuckies. I nailed slough grass back. There is slough grass here, but I use that to bed the pigs, and if they so decide to chew on it, so be it. We use it in the chicken, in the nesting, or in the egg-laying coops, just for whatever. They dig in it and sit in it, and they'll make little nests and lay eggs in their little nests. We use it in the boxes and stuff instead of using straw. I just don't like to use the straw for chickens. I don't know. It's warm, but why use it when you have this? I use the straw for the cows. And yeah, so right now I am just moving this out here, this truck, so that I can load bales up later. And right now I'm gonna jump in that piece of equipment and bring my harrow sets over to the shop where it's warm. I'll go down and get a pipe, kind of like the pipe that's off the front of this shop here. And we're going to put some chains, weld some chains, and set up those harrow sets so we can start doing some work out in the field and spreading some feeding spots around and stuff. When it gets warm here, everything will thaw, and it's the time to do it. Well, I guess today's not my day for fishing, as I got everything out on the pond, and my auger blade is dull. Duller than a doornail, so I took it into the shop and hit it with the grinder a bit and tried to sharpen it up a bit, but the teeth just they're not sharp enough. Or maybe they're not at the right angle. I'm not too sure. I bought this thing back in like 2008, so it's a few years old, and I did try and dig post holes with it, so yeah, not gonna happen. Not gonna fish today. Gonna wait for another day. One of my brothers will bring out their auger, or I'll get some new blades for this puppy. However, I did scratch up some material from around the acreage, and I kind of did just a rough hack job. Quick, took me an hour and a half to put together a quick harrow set, and then I guess I'll have to get another 4, but I just kind of took the welder and took 8 links of chain and quickly welded all the butt ends of these up so they don't skip on top of each other, because they like to slide up on top of each other depending on how rough you're going over. And I took the pipe and I shoved another pipe inside of it, kind of welded it up, and then extended it to the end. And I took a big long cable and I split down the found center, then I weaved it around this way, and I took the other tail end and I weaved it around this way, and then I weaved it all the way back to here, and then pulled it out. And I took the other tail and weaved it all the way back over here, and then I pulled it out, and then I dragged it around, hooked it up to the end. Then I took this side, and then I took that side, and I dragged it all the way around, and then cable clamped it, hooked it to that side, cable clamped it, and then I just did a found center, did a fancy loop there, and I put 2 1/2-inch or 3/8. What are those? I don't know. I just found what I had in the garage. It looks like 3/8, and I just cranked them real tight so I can hook the pin of the tractor through this loop, or hook it onto the ball of the truck, and away you go. Took some old binder twine that I had and some old tires and kind of tied these tires on the back for a little bit of weight. Worst case scenario, if it's not heavy enough, I'll just get a boulder and I'll shove a boulder in each one of these tires so they don't fly off. And away you go. And we'll see how good this one works, because it's kind of a little bit bent up. However, it's kind of just what I had laying around, and I just kind of did my best with it. As you can see, I wasn't really able to just do a chain hookup because all these little things are busted, bent off. There's one here that's okay, and that one's twisted. I just welded them all up and welded that pipe solid so it doesn't slide left to right. So when I'm bouncing through the field, it doesn't work its way out. And yeah, easy breezy. We'll give it a go, and then I guess I'll have to buy another 4 sets. And then I'll just hook some tail chains off of those, weld some tail chains, or just wrap them and bolt it on each corner of those harrows, and then hang another set behind. And then you just get double the action, and you know, then you don't have to go over it so many times. But I'm going to drag it out into the field here in a little bit with the old girl and see how it works. Maybe after, when it gets a little warmer, I'll try and get that old International started up.